You don't wanna never count yourself out, make it a great one. Just be sure to leave out the doubt. Time to wake
Yeah,
up.
this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about a mentality that we cannot let creep into our businesses. And so, what I want to share is kind of this concept or this phrase that we've probably all heard at one point is either you're growing or you're dying, you're growing or you're shrinking. And with this, I think the reason why I want to talk about this is because there are a lot of companies that over the years I've heard because of their growth cycle, they've grown so much. They're like, hey, we're good where we are. We want to stay where we are. And if you think about it as like a, you know, as a line, it's like they get to the top and they're just like, let's just stay right here. And really, I want to share with you how we should think about it. It's not a get to the top and stay there on like a flat line. Most things in our businesses kind of have a life cycle, right? They go in this bell curve manner. They go up, they go down. And it's our job as leaders to try to ensure that we either maintain this growth or we reinvent ourselves or reinvent our product or our service so that we can maintain growth in different ways. So either maintain growth by you're trying to accumulate more customers or expand in territories or produce more product, whatever it is for you that maintain growth. Or we think about it as let's reinvent ourselves or let's reinvent the way in which we do this or the way in which we produce this. This is the mindset that I think is really healthy. But I want to give you 3 points of why we can't think of it as we need to stay where we are because it feels good or this is a great spot that we've been in for a while. And point number one, the three main points, I'll start with point number one. Point number one is that market share will decline if you adopt this mindset of we're good where we are. We're good where we are. We just want to be steady, right? The reason why is when we look at our market share, however you want to think about it, but I'll think about it as like this is our market share. If we're thinking of it visually, your competitors have market shares that might overlap into yours in some ways. Maybe it's in a totally different region or territory or on a different platform. But you think of your market share, and when you adopt this mentality that we're good, you start to see that the other individuals' market share businesses starts to grow because they recognize those things and they start to say, we'll take over this market share as well, right? Someone is always going to be more hungry than you are if you don't allow yourself to have that kind of mentality. I'll give you a quick example of this too. We had a car wash in our general region who had been here for years. They were the place to go. And all of a sudden, you started seeing more car washes popping up. And small things made a big difference. Like, oh, they offered free vacuums and you don't. They offer an inside place where you can come and vacuum during the winter and you don't. They offer competitive pricing. They offer family plans. And so when we think about that we're good where we are, it starts to creep in and market share will shrink because of that. All right. Point number two is that your culture will start to breed complacency if the language that you're using is we're good or we're going to stay steady where we are. People can read between the lines. Your employees will know what that means when it comes to business, and they'll start to adopt a mindset that's very unhealthy. So we don't want to breed a culture of complacency because you want all the way from the front lines of your business to the executive level. You want people to think about how we can, again, reinvent ourselves, maintain growth, take more market share. And I just want to give you a quick reference of how you can think about growth. It's really defined between either revenue, people, and that's people internally, people as in customers, and then also if you think about development, like developing your brand more or developing your product or your service more or developing certain departments more. And so if you look at those three buckets, that is a good way to look at growth. And so we want to breed this type of culture where people are consistently thinking about developing or people growth or revenue growth. Why? Because it creates more opportunity, not only for the people within your business, but also your community or the communities that you're in. Point number 3 is that rising costs won't wait. All right, so I want to kind of show you what I mean by this. If you look at this as kind of a line graph, okay? If you think, oh, we're steady, we'll just stay right here, right? And so this kind of depicts how you're thinking about your business or other people. They think of, okay, we'll stay where we are. Well, we know that costs are consistently rising with inflation, and so costs will eventually surpass you if you're thinking we're good where we are. So to date, if you're making 5 million and you think, okay, next few years we definitely want to stay here, cost of your production, cost of your employees, overhead costs, everything that you think of that you operationally have to pay for in order to keep things running will consistently start to rise. And this is the danger zone. If you think you can stay there, you will get surpassed. You'll start to have these break-even moments, or maybe even you'll have these moments where you're in the hole. So again, give you these 3 points because I think that they're extremely relevant. Is that one, you need to think about your market share. So when you're thinking about we're either growing or dying, we need to think about growing our market share so that we consistently add more value to our customers, bring them more value, and that way we can service them better, we can provide better products for them. Point number 2 is that you don't want to create a culture of complacency. You want to create a culture where people are innovative, thinking about growth, thinking about how they can add more value to your customers and also to the employees that work there. And point number 3 is that rising costs won't wait for you. So you'll ensure that you do bring that more value, that you can raise your prices, you can bring more quality to your product or your service, you can provide more speed. And when we think about, things like Amazon, some people don't realize it, but Amazon's prices normally aren't the cheapest. You can find cheaper prices in other areas, but because they provide such extreme logistics and efficiency to the customer, they can actually charge more for it. And so in those instances, they've learned to bring more value to people because people are busy today and they need fast products, right? Maybe not need, they want fast products. So when we think about those 3 areas of why, you certainly have to look at it as grow or die, and hopefully you're thinking about it as growth, not about being where you are. I challenge you to think about this and say, are we in the mentality of that we consistently need to grow in our businesses? We need to grow and develop our leaders. We need to bring more value to our employees and our customers. Or are you slowly or quietly slipping backwards? And growth doesn't mean that it's a reckless growth. When we're saying that we need to have a growth mentality of where we're going, it's thinking about how do we get better consistently. I like to say that either it's a micro wins lead to macro success or small wins lead to big success. However you want to think about it, when we can take and bite off these small wins and we can improve little by little, we'll ensure that our businesses have not been slipped into this concept or this mindset that we're fine where we are and we're steady with our growth. We want to look at how can we continue to grow. Hopefully this video was a good reminder. Hopefully it was a good mentality that you can take today and share with your leaders, and look forward to doing more with you in the future. Talk soon.
Never count yourself out, make it a great one. Just be sure to leave out the doubt. Time to wake up.